All right, guys, what's going on? This is Dan French. I think we're live right now, so we had an issue here just getting started. But thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. This is the French Workbench Podcast, and wanted to reach out to you guys. Thank you, and we have a full studio today. And let's go ahead and talk today with everybody that's in studio here. And it's the normal people. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Can you hear the music now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that right.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, now I feel like we're...
Now you need the music. Is that what it is?
Yeah, now I feel like we're doing something.
All right.
Before, I just think we're just strangers battering in a waiting room.
We're kind of like...
that music.
Are we on? Are we on? Yeah.
That's what the cue is. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is the most real and behind-the-scenes information regarding financing, real estate, money talk, entrepreneurs here in Las Vegas. And we have a nice guest here today. We're going to talk with Mr. David here. He's a virtual tour owner, I guess you can call him, a digital marketing guy that actually helps with showing properties through virtual tours. We're going to talk with him and his company and what he has to offer. Also, we have Mr. Rick Raines in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Rick Raines, what's up, buddy?
Good morning, Las Vegas. Let's get it going.
Yeah, let's get it going,
Take
man.
three. Take three this week.
Take three, yeah. So what's going on with you, Rick? You got anything else? Anything new going on, buddy?
Hey, this week was a full week. We had my Channel 13 news air on Wednesday.
Nice.
And it ended up being, I thought it ended up being really good. All the feedback I got was positive. Last night, I went on a charity event again for Love Never Fails. We raised $125,000.
Wow.
And tonight, hopefully, I've been invited by Wells Fargo to sit in their booth at the T-Mobile PBR event.
Just a man of the town, Rick.
Dude,
Yeah.
Rick, so, I mean, how did they do this? Did they reach out to you?
Of course.
Okay, so they, I mean, or did you call?
I'm not hunting banks.
Yeah, people contact Rick. He does, yeah.
Rick was dialing phones.
I'm not in. Hey guys, can I get into yours?
We also have Mr. Brett Jenny. He's back. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Like Rick, I had a really busy week. So a lot of good stuff going on. I met with Cody that we had on last week.
Yeah.
About
Life?
about the builder he works for accepting Bitcoin.
Okay.
So they have a Chinese investor right now who needs to wire over $10 million, and Bitcoin would be a good way to facilitate it. And then we talked about other things and meeting again this week. So hopefully
Excellent.
it's the start of some really, really good things. You know?
Yeah,
So,
you're opening doors, man.
yeah. I mean, it's funny because we're having lunch, and I said, okay, well, you know. Explain them things, and he goes, okay, what do we need to do next?
Yeah.
I said, well, you need to set me up with an appointment with the person who makes the decisions for your company to do that. He goes, I am that person. What do we do next?
That's definitely the podcast opening doors.
Yeah. And I said, well, who's the person I need to speak to? He goes, I am the person that makes that decision. So what do we do next? I said, I don't know. No one's ever said yes.
How many times were you shut down before this started?
For well over a year, every door I've knocked and everybody I spoke to, no, you know, and so I never actually had someone say yes, and I was like, okay, well, let me think.
Yeah, right.
We'll get it figured out, but it's funny because he's like, what do we do now? I'm like, no one's ever said yes, so I don't.
Hey, I have a similar story on that. When I was working I was management for Toys R Us, and I caught a shoplifter. Well, not a shoplifter. One of the employees was embezzling out of the till, and we just happened to have this female security, corporate security, in our store at the time, and I got the girl to admit it in this closed room, and security standing there, and the chick leaves. I mean, we had her go stand outside, and the security looks at me and goes, "Well, what do I do now?" She never caught anybody in all the years of doing anything. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was just so good things, man. And we went through our drive through the summit. Have you ever been through there?
No. I've never been to there.
First house you drive by is Celine Dion's.
Oh, okay.
And then you drive by Knockfee.
Okay.
Knock the energy.
Yeah.
You know what you should do? You should get a shuttle.
Put in a $3 million pool.
I got a good thing here. So start a business, get a shuttle, and you can do like a celebrity tour.
Yeah, man. It's
Right? Go to the summit and do a celebrity tour, right, Brett?
it's man, there was some homes in there, dude.
Yeah. You said that one of them had like a $3 million pool, right?
Yeah, Knockfee. The attorney
Yeah.
knock fee, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
$3 million pool.
And
Does it have
speaking
a
of
high dive?
speaking of attorneys, we have an attorney back named Joe Dragon. He's back. He's ready to go with a beard now. What's up, buddy?
You don't like it?
I do like it.
We're back with a beard.
I had
Yeah.
it trimmed and everything.
He's back with a beard.
Back
Hey,
in black.
I mean, he looks like one of those guys. Nothing against, but you can be out there like hunting deer and stuff right now
Oh,
with
yeah,
that
okay.
hat and
Oh,
everything.
dude,
Wasn't
you
sure
went
where
back
you're
to
going with that.
Wisconsin with me right now, you'd have drink spot for you at the bar.
This
Yeah.
hat?
Well, the hat and the beard, you look burly like right now, and you look like you're ready to go out and take care of business.
That's how I handle my business.
Looks like you're ready to go out and kill some shit.
Don't get in the way.
No,
That's right.
I'm doing well, I'll get my $3 million pool shortly.
Nice. Yeah.
So
Yeah, me too. Trust me.
You gonna be
I'm on like a quarter acre, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You be rubbing elbows with
It's got to go
Knockby?
down. Yeah.
yeah.
I have. When did I meet him? I didn't quite meet him. Yeah, he's an interesting. Harry's mean. People that work for him.
No, actually, this guy said he's one of the nicest people. He's super nice to everybody.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that person was just bitter.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, that's what he said.
Well, listen,
He said he was super nice to everyone.
That guy lost a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I've been in business long enough to know there's two sides to every story. So
That is very
you know.
true. I've been doing this long enough now, so
Yeah.
that was No, we're just making conversation here. So
yeah,
What can we
anyways,
do? How you guys been? Dan?
good.
I've been great,
Did you
man.
lose someone on the phone?
No, I'm just
Okay.
doing my deal here. So just
Okay.
Listen, he's a
Oh,
multitasker.
he wants us to. That's professional.
yeah, man. I'm just doing my deal over here, just
I'm
listening
joking.
to you guys, and
I'm joking.
everybody's out. It looks like you guys had some coffee this morning. You guys all look
We did.
pretty
Yeah,
pretty fresh.
Brett has that red line. We've been over this.
Red line, man.
How many cups of coffee you think's in that red line, Brett?
It's outlined in 30 states.
More than one, less than 10.
Look at that thing. That it has like directions. Do not drink the whole bottle. And if you're pregnant, make sure you don't even smell it.
Red line.
Like literally says that on
Dude, I'm gonna do
the
commercial.
bottle.
I mean, that's what it's about. Is
Right.
I wouldn't. I think it would be hard to put a percentage on what you get by professional photos like that and virtual tours versus not. But I can say that your job is to market that house and sell that house for residential example, and you're getting as many eyes as you possibly can on that. And by the sheer volume of getting as many eyes on it, that's what's hopefully going to make the price.
And that's increasing demand.
Correct. Yes. Correct.
And the first, I always say this: no matter what you do, your first contact with anybody is very important, right?
Yes.
And if you've got a bunch of listings and you've got a bunch of stuff, and you see like a grid stage home with 3D. Right, that makes a lot of sense to me because that's something that creates excitement.
That's what I'm saying.
in the
is
consumer's mind.
When you go to a listing where it's together and they have a virtual tour and 3D walk and all that stuff in drone, I mean, it looks tight. It makes you. It forces your eyes to go upon it.
and
that's what you want.
we do this stuff all the day. But if you have the identical houses, I'm telling you right now, we have identical houses and one's just bare,
And one's got that?
and there's no difference.
Yep.
I'm going to the one with the
Absolutely.
It just creates a psychological
Absolutely.
effect. So
Yeah.
and to Dave's point there, Brett, do you what do you tell your clients if they got one offer on the first day? Because I know that was going like recently crazy in this market.
Yeah.
Do you say hold off, see what you can do this week, or what?
It depends on what's happening with the market. So, and it depends what the seller wants. I mean, it's a communication thing and a conversation you have with your seller from the get go.
Yeah, but just say I'm your seller and I just say I want,
So
I want more money.
say it's a really hot market. Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, that's a yes. Every seller wants the most amount of money, right? So if it's a really hot market and we have it on the market for 1 day and we get, say, an offer that's full price, usually within, anybody who's shown it within that day or two, I contact all those agents and say, hey, just so you know, we have an offer. Seller's going to be deciding tomorrow. Let me know if you're putting anything in. But I'll usually give it 3 or 4 days. I mean, what I'll usually do is list it on a Thursday, and then I'll give the full weekend, and then usually meet with the seller to discuss on Monday.
And what Dave's saying is you should have all those photos up on that Thursday,
I do.
ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's talking to other people, right?
You absolutely should. You can put it in coming soon status, which lets everybody kind of notifies everybody who's on the MLS that this is coming soon on the market, and just put an outside photo. But then when it actually goes live, you're going to want it, because when it actually goes live, that's when it goes on Zillow. That's when it goes on Realtor.com. That's when it goes on all the other websites. So you want to have, everything lined up and looking professional from the very beginning.
One of the advantages
Virtual tour
of doing
photos,
the 3Ds is we all work with buyers, and a lot of them are hesitant to pull the trigger while they're standing and looking in the property. so on and so forth. And if you have this 3D virtual tour, they're able to go home, talk it out, and still be in the property looking at it from their home to make the final decision to see where their TV is going to be, where they're going to set stuff up, because that's the key. People have to be able to see themselves in the property in order to pull the trigger.
All right, let's talk a little bit today, guys, about what we wanted to discuss here with rising prices that are fueling the private label market. Now, we all know that in Las Vegas right now, you have prices that have, I feel that they're still going up in some areas, but they've also stabilized. Now, Brett, you can attest to this as well, that there's still properties that are over list, but it's really starting to become less. Yet, you're looking at companies, or not companies, but big banks, big corporations, getting more money, mortgage-backed securities and pools of money to start buying into properties that are jumbo price loans. Now, what jumbo is, people have a misconception of what jumbo loans are. Jumbo loans are anything that exceeds that county limit. Everybody's county limit's different. Here, it's 548,250. Now it's going to increase to 625 next year. So
I mean,
548,250. So at 625,000 heading into next year, we all know that that's probably what it's going to be. I don't have confirmation that it's going to be that, but it's a strong indication. What do you think is going to happen? Because a lot of these banks are starting to really organize and structure their portfolio to start buying properties in the jumbo range.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be something we're going to see for the foreseeable future.
I think the regular home buying market is not going to drop, but it's going to even itself out. And then after the next year, I think it'll kind of stay steady and go to a reasonable rate every year. But I think the luxury and the ultra luxury route is going to skyrocket like you've never seen. To me, it's like if you think you've seen Cali money move here, you haven't seen anything yet.
Do you think it's just starting?
I think 30, 40, $50 million homes are going to be regular, not regular, but it's going to be a lot more frequent than you've ever seen. And anything that's 5, 7, 10 million is just going to be going.
So check this out. The other jumbo securitization deals in September with the association loan pools value were undertaken by the following issuers: Wells Fargo, $644 million, Redwood Trust, Rocket Mortgage, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup.
So what they're saying, they're raising all that money to invest in the jumbo loans?
That's right. They're raising it to say, look, the market is shifting towards that type of clientele.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that there's not going to be buyers out there that can't buy a home at $400,000 that start, that average median price.
Those loans are always going to be there. I mean, that's because they come under Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
But it tells you this is an alarming thing, because if you got that much money, they feel that this market's going to shift to that. Is the average person out there, we always talk about home affordability, is the average person out there going to be able to buy a home, let's say, in the next 2 to 3 years?
I don't think $5 million homes selling more frequently than others will have no impact on a $400,000 house.
So you don't think that that's going to make it harder for people to buy a home?
Nope.
And you don't think that prices?
I think it's going to be harder if you want to buy a $10 million home, but boo-hoo.
Okay. What about you,
I mean,
Rick?
no offense.
I don't think.
Why are you looking at me?
You're the only attorney. No.
Yeah, guys.
Again, why? No. Sorry.
What do you think, Rick?
I don't think it's going to be any harder.
Okay.
For the average average price, average person, because that's where the market is really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. That's where all the numbers are.
Yeah, but a lot of these numbers, we're not going to 2 or 3 million. I understand you said that.
Sure.
A lot of them are 500 to, let's say, 800,000. I got a lot of people that are buying homes, and it's normal right now. 500 to 800,000. If you're exceeding 625,000 for Clark County next year, potentially you're going to say, okay, well, now we're in a jumbo status.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe there's going to be more people in that price range.
There's more in that price point, especially in this city, than there ever has been.
So they're preparing for it,
Yes.
and they're going to be able to finance.
Right. So I
simple.
feel there's going to be a little bit more of a market for that type of buyer, where that buyer anywhere from, let's say, 600 to $1 million is really going to be a normal thing, especially with people coming outside.
Interesting point, right? Because I bought my house for like just over 3 and 19, right? That thing's praising over 500. I paid the debt down. I'm kind of got a kid. I'm thinking, hey, I kind of want some more room, right? Which puts me in the 600 plus range, right? So I think to the point, there's been this community in the last 3-4 years, we're in that 300 to 400 price point, and now they're looking
That's
to
what
get
I'm
into
saying.
the 600 to
Absolutely.
900 price
and their
point.
families needs a different
So-
demand than what was.
So
And they can
another-
afford it because they got the equity.
Yep.
And then
Another
flipping
way
it
to
in the next
another
year.
way to
And
look
further in your
at
career.
it.
Yeah.
Another way to look at it is that these people that you just, or these companies that you just listed, are actually behind. They didn't see the prices moving this quickly, and it's taken them time
Yeah.
to basically catch up to what the price points are really at. And now they're coming out and saying, "Yeah, we've got the money to finance you at these higher prices."
Maybe it's a blend, and maybe you're right on one part of it, but there's also a blend that you have to reserve the money up front, right? And they're probably thinking next year, going into next year, that's a market that's going to be a big part of
That's
in
what they're
every
predicting.
market.
Well, it has to be.
So I think
Yeah.
you're looking at it and going, okay, it's a blend because you're right. Maybe they didn't count on the fact that these properties would appreciate as fast as they did, and they're like, wow, this is going just bizarre, going crazy. So you look at the markets, and the markets are saying, and the markets dictate what you do. They're obviously confident that this market and all markets are going to continue to appreciate, where I think a lot of people think there's a crash right around the corner.
Well-
and we know, listen, we're not going to bring up the crash thing.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is, I don't want to get into that, but what I'm saying is that they're trying to foresee what's going to happen and trying to make adjustments for the next
Let me
year.
say this: there is no crash thing to talk about because there is no crash that's going to happen.
Well, look, we already talked
Okay.
about that.
Yeah, so there's nothing to talk
Well,
about
but,
with that.
but
Agreed.
listen, maybe some people feel that way, though. Just
So-
because
I
we,
thought we
we
were
say
talking
that.
about it.
Okay,
Here we go.
So I let's use common sense.
I have statistics.
All
if you're
these
interested.
people, the banks have the money. Or let's just make it simple. You know the golden rule, right? He who has the most gold rules.
I thought it was
So all these
others.
these banks control the money,
He's not
own the
listening,
money, and
Brett.
control the money, and they're essentially putting their money where their mouth is.
Well, but they're also making adjustments as they foresee the data
Of
coming
course.
in. And so, look,
That's what they're doing.
the confidence is there. That doesn't mean something couldn't happen. It would be unforeseen what the banks
Sure.
would not know.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is there's obviously a market here for people that are starting to buy in that jumbo market.
I'm sorry, I got a
And
question.
Sure.
That's part of my ignorance. What do you mean by they need to reserve their?
So banks have to go in and they're reserving pools of money, right? They're reserving mortgage-backed security money, or not just pools of money to invest. You have to
From investors.
Has to be
from the
seasoned.
trust.
No, at
If you
certain
go
price
and
point.
get a loan, your down payment money or closing costs, that money that you use from your bank account to pay that has to be seasoned. It has to be sitting in there for some time.
Well, they have to actually request or get that money, and,
Yeah.
and how they do it is they replenish the money, right? So it's like, okay, I got this amount of money. Sometimes they just sell off that debt, just to get rid of that debt. Maybe they sell it to a bigger entity, right?
So you're saying they're the market.
So what I'm saying
they're
is
marketing it for higher loans.
They're trying to have more
Reserving
liquidity.
it
They
for
want
higher
more
loans.
liquidity
Lenders
to
have-
invest money.
Lenders,
That's what I'm saying.
Again, lenders banks have to take a certain amount of their portfolio, okay, of the money that they've got, and put it into whatever product they're going to
Okay,
put it into.
correct.
Gotcha.
So they're banking
I was trying to
on.
understand how we're. So they're saying they're banking on they put it into their 600
Yeah, they're
plus
putting their
Right.
money where their mouth is.
because they
Right.
think that's where people are going to buy.
Yes, they're
from
putting
them.
their money where their
All right.
mouth is, and I would believe that because they do their numbers.
So that tells me if the banks are doing that, and if there's no issue or no caution that maybe we are going the other direction, I don't know why they would be reserving that much money or getting it set up, because we all know, look, prices of homes, everything's being driven up, even though we're somewhat in more of a stagnation position here in Vegas. So it's just kind of not really doing anything.
But not the last month. That was my point. We
Well,
it went up another like 10% in like September, October. I think it's going to flatten out because we have the holidays, right?
You gotta
No one's
look at
looking
the trend.
list though. Right, so the trend was what? Was shot up to August, flattened out, then kind of shot up again.
It's just, look, at our properties that we have in the market has relatively been the same for the last 3 to 4 months. Would you say
Okay,
that's
so
the
I
truth?
got it wrong then, because that was my impression.
Well, the demand is still there, and that doesn't mean that home appreciation's not there. It just means that is it going up at the pace that it was going up
no,
previously?
I didn't say that because
Right.
that was like one of the most fastest rates in history, right? The beginning of 2021, the first 4 or 5 months of that,
Right.
So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it kind of like cooled off, right? And then it seemed to climb again. And then we all expected to cool off during holiday season. No one wants to deal with houses, right? So, but then we hit January. What we're looking at? What's the first quarter of 2022? And you're saying going to increase again.
Well, it's definitely going to increase because the demand is there. The consumer confidence is still there, even all these things.
Do you
So-
think? Oh, I'm sorry, Rick. Go
So
ahead.
well, here's another thing that has to do with banks. Banks have to keep a certain liquidity in order to
Correct.
actually be a freaking bank.
Right.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that happened back when the bubble happened was that you had all these foreclosures going on. That changes their bank's dynamic as to how much money that they need to keep in reserve as compared to the amount of hard assets that they've got. So here's something very quickly, take 45 seconds. During the pandemic, the banks were estimating that 30% of the mortgages they were holding were going to go into foreclosure during the pandemic.
Right.
Okay.
How many
it
did?
Actually ended up being 8.5% at the end of the pandemic, and right now it's all the way down to 2.2%. So that means that they're not going to be taking on foreclosures. They're not going to have to hold money. That means they can put it into loans, whether it's regular or jumbo. So back when it bubble burst, there was 9.3 million foreclosures. Okay. Right now, there's only 1.2 potential, and of that, 93% of them have at least 10% equity.
I want to say one thing about that, Rick. Sorry, because
Sure.
that
43
market
seconds, by the way.
that market forced the hand of those banks. Because what happened is the banks all collapsed at the same time. Basically,
Sure.
they all a lot.
Dude,
of them
I
did.
sold all those homes. I know
the
exactly
difference
what it
is
did to
this:
the banks.
is if you can methodically know, like, hey, there's an issue and we can all fix it, because banks don't want to foreclose. That's not the
Well,
they lose money.
they eat
They
a
lose
ton of
money.
money.
Big time.
Dan, let me tell you this. That's because banks have learned and have a new attitude. But I can tell you, in 2009, 2010, there's all these foreclosures on the market. And we're literally going back to the banks saying, dude, you need to quit foreclosing on the rest of these homes, and you need to work with the sellers to do short sales. And they
And
would
that's what they did, though. That's what they ended up doing.
Eventually, but at first, their attitude was, well, they owe us this money. And we would say, okay, we understand they owe you that, but you're not going to get it. And they
Right.
would respond with, but they owe it to us. And we'd respond back, I know, but you're not going to. And
When you
that
say
went on.
we,
so
what do you
that's-
mean we?
Hold on, let's listen to Rick real quick.
Realtors, sellers, everyone in general, for about 2 to 3 years. Then banks finally started doing short sales, but it was because of AB 284 that basically forced their hand to do that.
Sure. So the difference is, you're correct, and the difference is right now that just in this last year, homes have appreciated on average about $51,000. So all these people that are behind, instead of them getting foreclosed on, they've got an opportunity to sell.
Yep.
Still a hot market, and they're not going to get foreclosed on. The banks aren't going to be put in the position that they were put in, and consequently, they see the writing on the wall, and they can start putting the money
and
into
that's
loans.
like in this market, because I've had some people, call me in this.
Sure.
Not a ton, 'cause it's not a big
Yeah.
thing, but whatever. But I'm like, if you can't make the payments, sell your house.
Yeah.
Because you're going to come out with
Yeah.
money. They foreclose, you come out with nothing.
So-
that's the
That's
and you don't
the
get your
difference.
credit
That's the
destroyed.
difference. The way it is now.
Yes.
is opposed
But you
to the
couldn't
way
do that
you
back
couldn't do
then,
that
of course.
back
Because
then.
everything was
'Cause
decreasing.
You
It was
were
like
up,
this.
So as
yes,
long
it was
as
upside
yeah,
down.
so
But that's what I'm saying. If somebody's getting foreclosed today, like you got to be
But-
mentally not with it, because it doesn't
so
make any sense.
what I was trying to tell you is that back in the day, banks basically cut off their own nose to spite their face. They're the ones that did that damage to themselves. Granted, people weren't paying.
It was the type of loans they were making.
But by releasing that many foreclosures, like they did that to themselves. They decreased
They
their own
didn't-
market.
They didn't get a choice because again,
I know, but they could have handled it differently,
Well,
which they do have a different attitude now. But
It was
just so
interesting.
overwhelming at the time.
Well, it's interesting because I was only like 21 in 09.
I was selling them, dude.
So,
I was in the thick of it.
But I this is kind of a little bit off point, but because you said banks didn't want to do it because they owed the money or whatever, which is surprising to me because you think it'd be sophisticated. I tell everybody that ever does anything in legal, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're being criminal defendant or whatever, it's about money.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, all you get is an order about money. So you have to weigh your costs versus what the potential reward is.
Yeah.
Base the risk on that.
Well-
and people don't get that. Anyhow.
At first, I don't think the banks
because
really.
it's emotional.
I mean, listen. To be fair, at first, I don't think the banks had a clue how deep in they were. So when they had that attitude at first, I don't think they really realized.
that's why that's
but
part of it, yeah.
the depth of shit they were in.
Yeah.
You
Let's,
know?
let's go back though. So
Sorry.
we're talking about with Rick, and he was bringing up a topic about the position that a lot of these properties were in back in the day. Now you're saying today they're not going to have any foreclosures, And really, we're looking at are the properties going to keep appreciating? And I think that's the thing. That the reason why they're doing this and the reason why we're bringing this up is this going to eliminate a lot of more buyers in the future, because the average buyer is now going to maybe not be at 400,000. Let's say the average median price home. Now it's going to be at 600,000. And is it? We always talk about this on this show. Is the average wage earner out there here in Las Vegas, or even coming into Las Vegas, are they going to be able to afford a mortgage if it continues to keep going up if they need a loan? Right? I mean, that's the question.
As long as the demand is, as long as you have the normal demand.
No, as long as you have the qualified demand.
Yes,
that
I should
make,
say, okay.
That can make the
yeah,
net.
as long as you have the qualified demand that can still do $400,000 or $500,000 home. If they're starting to give out more loans at a higher price point than what the average person is can afford anyways, because of their job, then it doesn't really.
I think we're going to have.
It just moves on to a different level.
I think we're going to have a market of renters, let's say in the next 3 to 5 years, where you're going to have a big market.
Well, then you're talking about their wages not keeping up with.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So that's
they're going to be forced to rent.
Yeah, but why is that? We can talk about it a lot, but why is that so surprising? I mean, when I graduate,
It's not.
when I graduate, whatever grad school, right? Like, there were places I go and there were places I couldn't go. I couldn't go to San Francisco. That was going to be like $2,000 a month.
Well,
I couldn't make that money. Sure. So,
but you know what? We all grew up here. We all grew up here, right?
Right.
We all seen that properties were. Well, we didn't grow up here, but we were all been here, right?
Yeah.
We all live around or been here for years. We've seen this market appreciate over time. We've also seen it collapse. We haven't seen a market where we've had people not be able to buy homes or go and force the hand where people can't buy a home because. Let's be honest, Vegas, they come here because of taxes, people. Yeah. They come here because of home affordability. Well, they come here for a better
but what
living.
I'm saying is the market doesn't care. If the demand's coming in from there, forcing it up, this is why it doesn't care. It's just basic follow A to Z. If I own a house, I want the top dollar. I don't know who you are, and I don't care. So I'm not a charity program. If somebody's offering me the top dollar, I'm going to give it to the top
100%.
dollar. And that's just how it works. So, I had to go to places like Northern Nevada and here, 6 years ago because it was cheaper than California and Seattle. So if they can't afford it here, where they got to go somewhere else. That might be further, Utah. I don't know. Kansas. Who wants to go to Kansas? But that's the reality at Texas. A lot of people go to Texas, which sounds terrible to me. But there are a ton of people from New York and Boston. Yeah. Those areas went down to Texas because they couldn't afford in the market. It's just going to do what it's going to do.
I was talking to my wife it was either yesterday or the day before on this very subject. And what I was explaining to her is that the upper price end, we'll call it coming up to $625 or whatever, people coming in again from the coast, New York, San Francisco, they're going to be able to afford to buy. They probably have businesses that may be internet-based, or just as an example, the person that we just had on, David, he lives in California, but the majority of his business is here in Vegas. So those are the types of individuals that are going to be able to buy here. And what's going to happen is that at the lower price points, as things keep going up, people that want to buy are going to have to move to places like like Georgia, where instead of being at $1.50 a square foot, it's at 90 cents a square foot. And you're going to see people from places like here move to Georgia, Louisiana, and those lower priced areas, while you have New York, Florida, San Francisco moving in here, where to them,
it's a discount.
It's a discount, and it's still a metropolis.
Yes.
So that's
especially
what
in
I see
Vegas, where we
happening.
still have beautiful weather.
Yeah, but if you grew up here, and this is where I meant to say, there's no way you're going to be able to keep up with it because it's outside demand.
It's not the Vegas you grew up in.
No.
You the only way that you can keep up with it is, again, if you improve yourself, you start your own business, and you make it. That's how you're going to be able to stay
and
here.
make business decisions that make sense.
Correct.
Or whatever.
Let's move over to another subject. I feel that, and I think we all agree that it's going to continue to go up. Let's talk with Brett here. I'm going to jump this with Brett. Brett, what's going on with real estate, man? You got any news out there, or talk about crypto as well?
Yeah, no, just kind of, falls in line with what we were talking about. So here's what I've noticed is this week I showed a ton of properties that were between probably 750 and 1.1.
Uh-huh.
And I would say out of 15 of them, 14 of them have all dropped the price and been dropping the price probably every 2 weeks for the past 2 to 3 months.
Over 200 properties here have
and
reduced price,
and we're
price.
talking they've dropped the price anywhere between 17 to 25%. in the last 2 months.
I'm sorry. What price point was that?
Between 750 and 1.1.
And what about below that?
Probably not so
I mean,
much.
not so much. And these were homes that tended to not have an HOA, that were half acres.
Okay, so stuff in the north and stuff.
Yeah,
south.
yeah. So there. If you're talking about something that's a $900,000 house and it's really new and it's in Summerlin and it's going to sell. I mean, you're not going to have to really do the price drops, but
And
there's a whole nother segment out there.
What about the comps? Has it dropped below the comps? I feel like that's the big indication to me, though, because people get greedy and
not necessarily.
Yeah.
I think it's the overall psychological effect that people have when they're like, okay, am I going to miss out? Scarcity, right? Am I going to miss out on the unknown of, like, if I don't buy now, doesn't matter if it's Vegas, it's just anywhere.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, you wouldn't say that's a decrease in the actual commodity unless it went below the comps.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing too, which is half of them were flips. So they're investors who are like, we're coming into the holidays and we just want to get rid of it this point.
Well, but the reason I'm bringing this up,
we're selling.
right? I'm bringing this up because it didn't matter that, like, if there was comps or not, people would be paying above price on these homes. So at
6
that
months
point,
ago, this was unheard of.
it didn't. Nobody cared.
I understand, but if you're talking about whether or not the market's going up or down,
it's
flat's not going down.
Yeah, I mean, listen. So they're dropping it 20%, but then they also, so they took it from 1.1 down to 900,000, but they also bought it for 560 and stuck in a couple hundred for remodel.
And
so
back in May and April,
they can be flexible.
Right, you were getting those offers like crazy. So every time you have a new client or whatever that wants to put something in the market, they're like, oh. Look at going up. So I'm gonna put it 20,000 higher than that.
Listings were the easiest money you could make in this business. I mean, it's literally all you had to do is the paperwork. And you could have your assistant do the paperwork.
Yeah. So every single you got in that hike crazy anyhow.
Yeah, it was. I mean, sometimes you earn your money more than other times.
Do you have anything else about real estate today?
Not too much, man. That's just kind of market overall is nice and steady. The problem is homes aren't. There may not be as many buyers, but there's not as many homes on the market either.
Yeah.
And that remains the same. It's going to remain the same through the holidays. I think between now and January is a really good time to buy a house as far as getting terms on what you want. But listen, I had a listing that was $475 with a pool that was in really good condition, and it sold full price, just appraised out full price. And we sold that in 3 days, and we had 3 offers. So those will still, and that's in the Northwest.
All right, and you're known as the only crypto/real estate agent here in Las Vegas. So
I'm a certified Bitcoin professional. I am also the only crypto certified agent in the state of Nevada.
Okay, and so what's going
on?
Other
than saying that,
yeah. So let me. so let's talk, Brett, because you want to bring this up. What's going on with the crypto world?
So what you're seeing right now is a lot of it's. Everybody goes by the charts and the past charts. So it was November and December of 2017, the last bull run, which is 2017 is what everyone's comparing this crypto market to. The middle of 2017 is when everything went up, and then it went back down. And then the end of 2017, you had I bought Litecoin for $119, and within 4 days it was $350. Bitcoin had gone from $2,000
Here's the problem with it is there's such huge swings. Like, I understand long term, but there's such huge swings.
Well, hold on.
All of a sudden it goes crazy and then it drops.
Hold on. You ain't seen squat for swings yet. Wait till it gets up to $100,000 and you see $10,000 swings in hours.
Should we buy now?
So there's the 2 best times to ever buy Bitcoin were the first time was 10 years ago and the second time's right now.
Buy now. Buy what? Litecoin, Ethereum, and so
Litecoin, Solana.
Yeah, but a lot of
Link.
a lot of big investors and people that want to invest money into crypto, they're buying it at the discount or the small when it first starts. Like, let's say they create a new crypto.
So the people
coin.
that I know that have the most amount of money in crypto bought it a long time ago.
Correct.
And they'll be the first to tell you they're the worst traders in the world. They'll say, I mean, listen, there's no secret. You just have to buy and hold.
Yeah.
Now,
but they
listen,
want to buy at the smallest levels of.
Okay.
Let's say they create a new coin. people, well, that's when they go sink their money into it because they're waiting on, I want the big payout. The reason
So-
these guys are doing it is because it took them 5 to 7 years.
If you're looking to go that route, then yes, there's many new coins that you could stick your money in that,
Right.
that have the potential to go from 5 cents to $15 within a year or 2 years. Who knows? Dude, there's so
I
many
mean-
new coins doing so many things as you're taking
and
your chance on it.
You guys know my take, and we don't need to argue about it, but this is a big bubble, in my opinion. But I still want to ride it if I can.
So let
if
me
you're
ask
saying
you
by
this. Why do you think it's a bubble?
Okay, because what is the intrinsic value of cryptocurrency?
Whatever people give it.
No, that's what
Yes.
that's what the actual value. I'm talking intrinsic, right? Like gold,
Sure.
right? Like it has some sort of intrinsic value. You
Yeah.
can use it for wiring, whatever.
Yep.
Right. But that's not why you buy it. You buy it because it's value.
Well, you
and
use it for the same, like Bitcoin, you use for the same value
blockchain.
as. Hold on, that's the technology behind it. But gold is a store of value.
Well, that's what I mean by
right?
intrinsic value.
So that's intrinsic value,
What-
which is Bitcoin is a
what's
store
the
of value because people give it a store of value. Why do people? Let me
Right, no,
ask
I
you
know
this.
what you're saying.
Hold
Well,
on. Why do people give gold the store of value? Because they do.
right, I understand. We're on the same page. I'm just trying to
Okay.
explain. So, like,
Sure.
air, right, has what's the intrinsic value of air?
Keeps us
It
alive.
don't die in 2 minutes, right?
Correct.
I don't pay shit for it because
Yep.
it's everywhere, right? So crypto is this idea of alternative currency, and a currency is just a representation
Sure.
that I'll take it because
So
you.
to answer that question, it's because there's no central authority that can ever manipulate it, and it has scarcity
And-
that can never
and
be.
that's
for
the-
now, though.
That's the
Do you think
problem.
that
No, no, what do you
listen,
mean
hold
for
on,
now?
let me explain.
Do you understand? You don't understand what
Listen,
you're talking
hold on,
about. You
hold
don't
on,
understand
hold on,
the program.
Hold
of
on.
it.
Don't you think that taxes
For
will be
now.
implemented on this in the future? You don't
Sick
feel like
him,
it
sick him,
Of
get him,
course.
get him.
Okay.
I know.
So what I'm saying is there's going to be adjustments. I don't think it's just going to
Okay.
go away. I'm just saying
So
taxes.
I would love to talk about crypto, but what I do not want is to have 3 people or 2 people attacking me about something you have no idea what you're talking about.
No, we're not attacking. I'm
No,
just,
you are. You asked me to talk about crypto, and all you do is litter me
Well,
with questions
if I'm-
and gunning me down for 5 minutes afterwards.
if I'm the,
I'm not going to do that.
If I'm the
I'm just. I mean, I'm allowed to say what I'm going to
well,
say.
the
or,
point of you'd say that you buy it for an investment, right, Brett?
yes, because it can't. Again, it can't ever be manipulated, and there's a scarcity of it.
So either you're right or I'm wrong. But the whole point, I mean, I don't really care. Who cares if we're right or wrong? We're just trying to figure out whether or not
Sure.
it's a good investment.
So
my concern.
here's what everybody only really needs to understand is this is the future, and if you don't get on board, you're going to get steamrolled. Next conversation.
Here's the question, though, and it just comes down to this: what stops Congress from saying if you're an S&P 500 company, you can't use this? That's
okay, then they don't need to.
because they want the central power, right? That's what the Fed is.
But if they've tried having that attitude, and they're realizing quickly that's not the right attitude to have. But they could ultimately do that. That's fine. So no S&P 500 companies buy Bitcoin.
So I don't think that
there's 2/3 of the world that
Go ahead.
I don't think that'll happen, especially if they can figure out a way to frickin' tax it or get
Yeah,
their finger
that's
in
the-
it.
it's
That's-
like
as
long as
legalizing
you can get
pot,
there-
dude. If you just tax it and
If
embrace it,
you
you're
can
gonna
get
make
your
money.
finger in it, it's not going to go away.
If there's a scenario where they go, fine, you can use Bitcoin, but I want control of it just like I want control of the dollar, and they do that, that's something different, though, right? But that's the whole point. Bitcoin was supposed to be free of that. Was the idea behind it?
It's supposed to be free of what?
Free of control, like
It is
U.S.
free of
dollars,
control.
100%
Well,
control.
So
It is free of
here's
control.
another
The price is
question for
determined
you.
by the demand of it.
Let's hear what Rick has
So
to
here's
say.
another question, Joe. So let's just say it stays on the free market. That's what I'll call it, free market.
Yeah.
And the government says no, you can't do this. The whole thing with Bitcoin is that you can't frickin' trace them. So just because they say you can't use it, how are they ever
yes,
gonna
you can.
know?
Well,
You can trace it through the
You can
IP
trace
address
it.
of
You
every
can trace it
computer.
through the address.
Yeah.
But what
But
you're-
there's ways you can. The reason why you can trace most of it because at one point or another they go through some sort of an exchange. Once it hits an
Okay.
exchange, you're going to be able to trace it. If you just kept it in your wallet and sent it to another wallet, then you wouldn't be able to.
Every one of them has a digital
But 90% of
identity or
people who
platform that
do it through some sort of exchange at some point. So
Okay.
so yes, you kind of do.
well, and your question's kind of like,
But technically,
what's to stop somebody from not reporting their taxes? Well,
yeah,
Yeah.
nothing,
Same
but you
thing.
could get audited, right? Like-
exactly.
like-
I mean, I don't claim to know.
Well, that's
and-
what I'm saying is that the taxes. I'm not saying that
Sure.
that crypto is not something that people should look at to invest in. I'm just saying do it now if you're going to do it, because who knows if the Fed or somebody's going to come in and try to tax this in the near future.
You
don't
got to
know.
understand that if you've been in the crypto space for a minute, it's the same conversations and the same FUD that's been said over and over.
How much has
and
the popularity increased over the last few years?
Tenfold.
Right.
And even with that, we're only 5% of the world.
So what does that do? It brings that direction back towards...
what happens, so if it's only 5%, so I look at it this way, it's only 5% of the world adoption right now, but it's something that is going to 100% be adoption in the future. It's going to be our future. And I that's a different conversation. That's what I believe. If you believe that,
but blockchain,
what happens when you have 30, 40, 50% of the world?
I could see blockchain being the future of the world, but are you talking about blockchain or Bitcoin or Ethereum specifically? Which one?
So blockchain is the technology behind those other coins. But the way that technology in that works makes all the difference in the world. So Bitcoin, if you want to actually pay with Bitcoin, like say you were to wire over $2 million to buy a house in Bitcoin, it would take hours to happen. If you did that in Litecoin, which is like the payment system for it, it would take minutes and would be like 1/60th of the transfer fee.
Okay, so
it's smarter
to
actually
question.
do it in Litecoin.
Here's the question.
Because of the protocols different in it.
The question is this. Are we at the time where you should invest, or is it going to keep? Is it going to go down?
You should always invest in it.
Hold on. If somebody's timing out when they think they can optimize how much they can make off of crypto, is it declining right now, or is it increasing?
So here's what I would say: the next week to 2 weeks is going to determine everything. And at the end of the day, let me say this as a disclaimer, which is you're only 10 years into a market from something that went from no value to $60,000. So to say that to apply normal charts, you got to take it with a grain of salt, because this isn't normal charts. But based on the past, between now and the end of December is when it's supposed to go over 100 and supposed to rock and roll. The beginning of next year is probably when it's going to start on the decline, and then you're looking, according to the history, probably a bear market at the beginning of next year for the next 2 to 3 years.
So when do you think
it'll... 2 to 3 years. So you're saying you need to invest in it now to make money before the end of the year.
You got to understand that you can only say that based on the past, because it's so much more with further adaptation right now than it was 3 years ago that you don't know.
Do you think it'll actually become a currency? In like 10 years?
It already is a currency.
Currencies don't shoot up by 60%. Currencies go up by 1-2% inflation a year.
El Salvador, it's their currency. And
El Salvador also had hyperinflation and threw their currency out the window for that same problem.
So what reason would they have not to use it then?
But that's what I'm saying.
So you're in Venezuela and your currency has decreased 95% in the past 5 years.
I get it.
What wrong do you have trying to make that Bitcoin your currency?
Let's end this topic, but I just want to say this. Maybe there's a place for everything. Maybe it's
there
not.
is.
Maybe it's not. Yeah. I mean,
listen. At the end of the day, American fiat is not. Our fiat system is not going anywhere.
There's going to be a demand for all of these things we talked about. It's just going to be dependent on how much of a demand at that specific time. Right. So
look at the internet when it first came out. Could you imagine all the things that can be done on the internet now when it first came out? No. So it'll get developed. Find out.
Let's talk to Rick here. Rick, what's going on with property management, man? Follow that up.
Wow.
Do you concur?
I agree.
I'll tell you, man.
Basically, just what we went farther again. Again, housing this week from week to week went down over 6% for sales, and in the rentals we went almost 11% in 1 week.
Wow.
So what I see happening and what's happened in our offices, we're starting to get more owners call us to evict people, and the evictions are picking up, and they want these people out, and I think that's part of what's expanding the rental market.
So the evictions are starting to increase now, huh? Because now everything's kind of settling in.
Everything's settling in, and and the owners are finally deciding to pull the trigger.
Wow.
Cool.
So what about landlords? I mean, are they starting to kind of come out of this as well? Like as far as they were not getting paid, everything's kind of settling for them?
Everything is settling for them. I don't think that they're ever going to be made whole from this whole fiasco. Right. But they're settling in, and the people that are sick and tired of it, they're selling, and the people that want to either get in or stay in, they're evicting if they need to evict.
And we're noticing But I won't talk about. Sorry, not to get politics or what. I don't know what goes on in his mind. I'm just saying we're noticing
Nobody
a
does.
correction in.
He doesn't even.
Yeah.
We're noticing a correction in inflation that had to happen, and they're trying to do it sneakily because eviction's one, right? You get paid, kicked out. High gas prices, that's another, because there's things they could do to get it short of. The fact is, we have too much money in circulation, and they're pulling it out, and you're seeing it. That's why nobody's jumping all over it. That's why Congress isn't getting all pissed off about evictions like they were 4 months ago, because it has to be corrected because you're facing an economic problem.
It has
otherwise.
to be corrected, and it's not detrimental either. I mean, obviously, the person who's being evicted, well, there's a reason, right? They haven't been paying, so they already got their free ride, and
Well, my
that's
point was-
ended. No,
Oh,
no, go ahead.
No, I was saying because when they first did it, I guess it made sense. We didn't know what was going on with this virus. Whatever, should have ended like 6 months later. Year later, when they said, "Look, what's the problem? The economy's great, right? Go back to lift to stay," and then you had a lot of this chatter about, no, keep it this way forever. Basically, don't evict forever. And there was a big political, and that went away because we were facing massive inflation problems, and that was my point. That's why it's going to be easier to evict anyhow. Anyhow, sorry to get off topic, Dan. Are we done?
No. We're about to be done here, but what we were talking about with Rick is,
Anyways, are we done?
yeah, Rick's
I agree.
yeah, Rick, do you agree? No, but it's important because people that we're evicting or talking about getting evicted, because we're about to end the show here in a second. But what happens is you look at the eviction situation prior to, let's say, like the crash versus now. It's not happening, and that's kind of what you were talking about earlier. Is that you don't see the same numbers. People aren't getting evicted, and you don't see foreclosures happening because of the market that we're in. So I think for your situation, you're not going to see those numbers increase tremendously where people are just getting evicted on an alarming rate like we did.
Well, first of all, the courts are jammed.
Right.
All right. The courts are jammed. And as far as evictions compared to 2 years ago, yeah, the evictions are up. But that's because they didn't evict anybody for a year and a half months.
But I'm confused. I thought last year at this time when we were doing the podcasts, all these people that watch us or whatever or a bunch of people were saying that the market was going to crash and everyone's going to foreclose on.
I think people are.
I'm confused. That didn't happen.
No, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
No, really? You mean
listen.
like we said it wasn't going to happen?
Hey, I've been there though.
Huh.
Look, I get on YouTube and I watch this stuff. Look, people want to. It's happened before, right? It happened 10 years. Hold on,
We've
it
been
happened
saying
10
the
years ago.
circumstances behind them are
So
completely
you
different.
have to understand that they're not always
Yes.
in the market, and so they're looking at it going, well, we saw this movie before. This thing increased at a rapid pace.
Yeah.
All these things
and
were
the
going
people
alarming.
who are directing the movie are telling
lotteries.
you that the script behind it's differently.
Yeah, but listen, lotteries at the new home builds. We saw that, right?
Yeah.
You see a lot of the same things.
I don't think.
no, we
a
so,
lot of the same things,
but it's not backed up by the same.
But
which
it's
is what we've been-
different.
I'm going to go on record here, and maybe I'm completely wrong, right? But I predict that during the rest of my lifetime, which would be 2 or 80 years, I don't know,
Hopefully a long one.
we will not see a real estate meltdown that we did in 08.
Never.
Although-
we might see an economic crash.
Yeah.
Why? Because we don't step in the same pile of shit twice.
Yeah, but it's not.
we might step in a different one,
right.
Yeah.
but not that one.
Well, exactly, and that's what I was going to say. Is it might not be the
Good point.
same way.
Yeah.
But listen, we're all connected, right? The world is connected.
Here's
now.
what I say.
If another country has an issue, like, could we get out of that issue? Probably.
well,
but
World
we're
War
still-
III happens.
but-
Well, then, yeah. What do we?
I'm talking about in the central banking world of just how everybody's connected and how the money flows, like you guys said, and currency and everything else. We're all now connected. And all I'm saying is, if something outside of,
Yeah,
let's
but
say
we're
the U.S.
leaders. I mean, the U.S.
Does-
is the hegemon of the
Okay,
world.
so if China fails, we'll be affected by it, right?
So
maybe it has some opportunity there because I don't. Curious how that would look like.
what if we all use the same world currency? So it was a value in every country.
Well,
we
let's-
do. It's called the dollar.
No,
Let's
no,
go
no,
back.
no, no, no,
Hold
no.
on, hold
It's
on.
being manipulated.
Let's go
Everybody
back.
works-
We've
Let's go
printed
back.
40% of all the money we've ever printed in our country in the last 2
Rick,
years.
you
Think about
concur.
that.
I know. Ever since
I concur and agree.
1920s.
And agree. Do you have anything else with property management? We're getting off topic here.
Yeah, no, I'm
We're having
Yeah.
fun.
I
We're having
always-
fun.
guys,
We
listen.
gotta go. I gotta show a house.
We got things going on. So, you got anything else to say, Rick?
Hey, www.property-mgmt.com and check us out on all the social media, Atlas Group LC.
Brett. BrettJenny.com. Real simple.
All right, that's it, huh?
And
That's it.
Just
Buy crypto.
Call now.
Buy Bitcoin. Call now.
Jenny.com. Call now.
628 firm.
we got www.dragonlawgroup.com. Then check us out on all the social media. That's Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Is there another one? LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah. LinkedIn.
Check me on LinkedIn.
And let me say something. Joe's out there now. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is the most
Thanks,
real
everyone.
behind-the-scenes information regarding financing and real estate. We'll be back here on Tuesday. Please hit the like button. Show us the support. Please subscribe. We need some more subscribers. We're on our way to 1,000. I think we got 2 last week, so we're really moving quick.
We are smoking.
So you guys,
Dude, another 3
it's
years?
just, it's
We'll
just
be there.
on fire right now. You guys have a good rest of your week.